I just wanted to give clarity of yesterday because I was like a neutral entity of being Native American between Latino, and then I was just like and I went into black and Latino and white, and I repeated Latino again, and that wasn't a mistake. What I wanted to expand upon is being Native American, Navajo and Hopi, growing up. Uh, being Navajo, granted, I want to be part of one of the cool tribes like the Sioux, and everything, Comanche and everything. Don't get me wrong, I realize now I'm part Comanche and part Apache, like legitimate part Apache and Comanche from Navajo. They have a direct descendant and everything. But I always thought they were kind of dorky and everything. I always looked to the Mohawks and everything. But that's not what I was getting. Native American, even before I was like born, I'll get to that later. Uh, Being Native American and, naturally, being Latino, you're going to have Latinos come up to you, by and large. And being Native American, growing up, it is this neutral entity between, Dominican and Puerto Rican, or Mexican, or South American, and all the different Latinos, like Cuban, especially, down south or whatever, like Bolivian, Peruvian, in all those areas, and this is before Central America and everything. I grew up before all that stuff and everything. And so here you are, this Native American who grew up in a white family. So they know that. See, white family, blonde hair, blue eyes. You know, my mom was basically German, but everybody thought she was Irish anyway, and she suppressed that, being in Oakley. Um, so here, grew up in what they deemed was an Irish and Italian household. My dad, being from the Bronx, he sort of suppressed his Puerto Rican influence also. And that's how it was. But I mean, they picked up on it. And so here I am, this German, Irish, or whatever, Italian. I put that in huge quotes, technically, talking about, so I'm the last person to be like, oh, I'm German. You know what I mean? It's just not going to go right any one of those what I grew up in. I'm talking about, there's a time and place for everything. But here I am, this Native American, growing up, and you have all these different Latinos, and you know how people like who are outside Latino communities think all these other things about Latinos, like we always bump heads, saying this, Dominicans and Puerto Ricans always, clash heads and all this stuff, and it's like, and what really amounts is to this, like there's this constant whatever, and when you're Latino, you try to build bonds, you try to be together, or whatever. And what it really amounts to is people, having this bridge of communication to each other, And when they know that you're not always going to take Dominican side, you're not always going to take the Puerto Rican side or the Cuban side or the Mexican side or you, Paraguayan, Chile, Argentinian, all those other sides, and you're just native, American, but Latino, they know you have that blood in you. And even more so than a lot of Latinos who have a lot of Spanish blood, but they know you also have that Spanish blood. They look at you as this very neutral, like you're Switzerland, like you're Sweden, what I'm talking about? So they feel more at ease when they speak to you. So I was that bridge, I was that confluence, I was that nexus all the time. That's what I was getting at, I'm talking about within Latino community. And that happened naturally, then I picked up on it and expanded upon it or whatever. I don't know. I don't really have to think deeply into it. But is this always was the case? And that's what I was getting at before, even before I was born, being native, there was always one community beyond all of them, even though, you know, even before church farm school, and church farm school was a prime example of that, having a good portion of Puerto Ricans and Black people, yeah, who were gifted from the inner city, primarily from Philly, but also from New York and Jersey, and a little bit white people from West Virginia and that area. And there's always been one community, even though I was Native American, would push through all that stuff or whatever, even though I was Native, be family with me, wanted to incorporate it into uh, their families and into their community. And I'm very grateful for that, and it's just time and time again, what's the Puerto Rican community and how they feel about Native people and how they feel about their Native side. Even so, when I always thought my Native, I looked at Navajo as, not being, because I always thought they were Pueblo. They're not Pueblo. They're actually Plains Indians that came down and conquered the Pueblo and assimilated a lot of Pueblo culture. But to me, I was like, I just want to, didn't really put it out there, So it's just like to this day, I feel, you know, I mean, being off, the reservation, growing up in a white family, it's perfectly understandable and everything. But I wish I had like just a little bit more influence to be like, hey, what I'm saying, from the get go, these are who my people are, or whatever, what I'm saying. But I identified more with Mohawks and everything. So, and people, I spoke to other Native Americans about it. They understand that, what I'm saying. So I just, more than anything, you want to be open. You want, to be and show that, there's this communication, talking about understanding. I think it's more important than everything, who you are. And so, but outside the reservation and inside reservations, there's two different. I know there's two different ways you need to look at things. Because inside the reservation, um, I know the blunt quantum and everything. You could have like a quarter and be part of this one tribe, and outside of it, you probably are part of a lot of different Native American tribes. By and large, even inside the reservation. But that's not what's getting. Um, if you have just a smidgen outside reservation, you're deemed to be like half Indian. And here I am, half Indian, literally half by blood, by DNA. And so I was considered full blooded. But it's not something I want to tell the reservation. Oh, not something I would say inside, but there's a politics in urban America that you need to do with, or else it's survival, I'm talking about. And so I was definitely that person growing up. I was 100%, native and everything. Definitely. It was a very different mentality when I was growing up. So I just want to make sure that people understood that. And when I'm inside reservation, is like more laid back. You have to be open about it. It's just like that's what I think. I feel a little bit animosity now. More than anything. 'Cause I don't want to like degrade other Native Americans. I try to push for, um, as much as I could. But I was a troubled youth, so definitely I have a better way of doing it now. But I'm just very grateful. What it's getting at, when I, like even in the Puerto Rican community, it's just like sometimes they don't want to say that they're Puerto Rican. They want to be like, oh, I'm Italian, and here I am growing up in an Italian household, and I can understand where my dad's coming from, and I understood that. And what I'm getting at, when I didn't really want to be like, oh, I'm Pueblo, those type of Indians, Native Americans and Puerto Rican community, and especially one family in Seaside, New Jersey, um, very Native oriented. And it's just like outright first day I met them, you know, it's like very welcoming, made a T-shirt for me, had a chief on and everything. It's just like Ryan, I could say who I am and totally accept it. Grateful for that, and turned out, my family saved my life, literally, carried me to the hospital. It's just like it's different. You know what I mean? So that's when I said, like, once you learn to be that neutral entity, I'm glad that I was able to expand it out to Irish, Italian, Black community, and everything. Have that conversations develop. That's really what it is, you know. Like, oh yeah, people, it's not. Sometimes it is dynamic, but it's not as complicated as you think. It's just like you don't need to do these extreme things. You just need to have people sit down, talk. You know what I mean? Anyways, I got to go to the VA. I'm out. And it should always be about that, being that center, bringing people together smartly, intelligently. Don't go wrong, sometimes you got to be firm, but most of the time, 99.9% of the time, what I'm talking about is just having a real conversation with people, you know what I mean? And bringing those people together. That's what it was. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't complicated. It wasn't this, you know, thing that you shouldn't be able to figure out. I want people to figure it out. I'm talking about the good aspect of it. Remove all that other nonsense. Let that go. Bring it back to the core. I'm saying? People. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? There's so much stuff. But anyways, I'm out. I gotta go. Peace.